called to order. Please stand and we'll have the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Our first item on our agenda is 1.2, the presentation of life-saving awards to the fire department employees. We want to recognize, and I'm going to come down front and turn my mic on, so give me a second. I want to recognize the A shift. All the personnel, please stand on the A shift. On September 20, you can have a seat. On September 27th of 2021, at approximately 1850, A shift responded to a structure fire at 106 17th Avenue West. Upon arrival at the scene, bystanders advised someone was still in the house. Lieutenant Brian Tanner and firefighter Daniel Miller entered the burning home and quickly prioritized life safety. They made a quick effort to rescue Mr. Darden from the burning structure. Their actions started a chain of events that saved Mr. Darden's life. The remaining personnel on the A shift started basic life support until EMS could arrive on the scene. Because of this effort, Mr. Darden, an 89-year-old man, is still alive today in the city of Springfield. I want to call Lieutenant Brian Tanner and firefighter Daniel Miller to the front. Please come forward. Gentlemen, come stand with us. In this effort, both Lieutenant Tanner and firefighter Miller have fulfilled the mission of the Springfield Fire Department to the highest degree. Your professionalism and your courageous actions amplifies the value and the tradition of this department. On behalf of the Springfield Fire Department and the city of Springfield, I would like to commend you both for your bravery and present you with the life-saving awards. I'm so proud of you both. These actions are our organization's commitment to provide excellent customer service to everyone in the city of Springfield and all of our visitors. I want to present you both with your life-saving awards.
Thank you so very much.
I'm so proud of you both. Thank you. Yeah. Hold on. Stay up here. Now I would like Mr. Darden to come forward. Mr. Darden, please come up. He and his family are going to come up and pin them with the life-saving pins. His 90th birthday is on Thursday. So glad you're here. I'm so glad you're here. We love all of our firefighters in Springfield that work for the city of Springfield. Thank you so much for what you do for us. Come in a little bit, and we'll take a picture. We gotta act like we like each other.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Is my face right?
Good job, man.
I'm glad you
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for what you do every day. I was telling Mr. Martin earlier in the evening that you hear the firefighters go out all the time. We think they go to little minor accidents on Memorial Boulevard where there's fender benders. But there are life-saving days that you put your life on the line, each and every one of you that work for the fire department, the police department, and we so appreciate you. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to 1.3, the presentation of the financial statement and the supplementary information for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021. And I will call on our finance director, Ms. Lisa Crockett, because she does the day-to-day operations of the city of Springfield.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to welcome Jeff Proctor and Ankur Singla with Thurman Campbell Group. Ankur's actually going to present the audit and talk to you all a little bit about that. But I'd also like to take this moment to thank Robert Drake, who is actually here this evening. Without Robert's hard work that he does to make sure we get this audit completed, we wouldn't be able to do it without you, Robert. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Lisa. First of all, I would like to thank the board members and the management for giving us the opportunity again this year for us to be the auditor of the city. And also like to thank Ms. Lisa and her team, Mr. Robert, like she said, in helping us finishing the audit on time. With that being said, you should all have the audit report in front of you. If you can turn to page number 4. That would be great. This is what we call independent auditors report, and based on our audit, we gave an unmodified opinion. This is the cleanest opinion an entity can get. So that's the first touchdown of the night, if you are football fans. So, can I request you to go to page 87, please? This is something we call Yellow Book report. This is, so as part of our audit, we are required to understand the internal controls over financial reporting and also test compliance with certain requirements like laws, contracts, and grants. And based on our testing, we did not find any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in the internal control system. Also, we didn't find any non-compliance with, laws, contracts, or grants. So that's second touchdown of the night. And let's move to page 89, please. This is what we call a single audit report. Single audit is required when an entity spends more than $750,000 in federal awards. City has a sewer project that's funded through state revolving fund. So that led to this single audit. Also, last fiscal year, city received the COVID-19 related grant through governor's program. So that also contributed to this single audit. And based on our testing, the city met all the compliance requirements. There are 12 compliance requirements we have to comply with. And again, like I said, there's a third touchdown of the night. And let me ask you to go to page 18, please, if you move back to page 18. So, as you all know, as part of the city policy, city requires to have a minimum fund balance of unassigned fund balance of $2 million. If you look towards the bottom of the page, you'll see a heading on the left side, fund balances. So unassigned fund balance was about $10.8 million. So you're way above the threshold that you have set up. This is just a field goal. This is not a touchdown. So you can only get 3 touchdowns. And with that, that's all I have for tonight. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer those.
Questions?
How much did Ryan pay you to say that's just a field goal?
How much we gotta have in there to get a touchdown?
A comment, and I'm sure the board consent with me that we appreciate your services. You've done a thorough job in keeping us in good shape. So thank you again.
You're welcome. Thank you very much again.
Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you, Ms. Crockett, too, for your hard work and your department. This is not an easy job, and we have a lot of requirements through the federal and state government, so thank you.
Thank you.
1.4, the approval of the minutes for the regular meeting of Board of Mayor and Aldermen held on December 21st, 2021. Do I have a motion? Do I have a motion? Motion made by Alderman Green and a second by Vice Mayor Harris. Any corrections? No corrections, we're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 1.5, our public hearing. Public hearing number 1, ordinance 21-33, ordinance rezoning 1117 Batts Boulevard from Commercial Service District CS to Core Commercial District CC. Would like to speak on this public hearing, please come to the mic, and you have 2 minutes. Please state your name. Please come forward if you would like to speak to this public hearing. No one would like to speak for the public hearing? The public hearing is closed. Moving on to our legislative agenda. 2.1, discuss and possible take action on Resolution 22-01, a resolution honoring Robert Billy Williams Jr. for his service to the city of Springfield. We have a motion by Alderman Trotter and a second by Alderman Gregg. And we will let Ms. Brickles read this resolution.
Resolution 22-01, a resolution honoring Robert Billy Williams Jr. for his life of service to the city of Springfield. Whereas the city of Springfield lost a valued community and public servant on December 11, 2021 with the passing of Robert Billy Williams Jr. And whereas Mr. Williams was a willing giver of his time and resources to serve those in need and the community that he loved. And whereas he served the Springfield Housing Authority for many years, assisting citizens with their housing needs. And whereas Mr. Williams further served his community as a member of the Springfield Industrial Development Board and Health and Educational Facilities Board, where he served from 2010 until his passing. And whereas those who knew Mr. Williams knew that he deeply cared for his community and that he thoroughly enjoyed rooting for the Alabama Crimson Tide. And whereas he has been an inspiration to colleagues, friends, and members of the community as his legacy and heart for service will be remembered, cherished, and honored for many years to come. And whereas the city of Springfield desires to recognize the many contributions of Robert Billy Williams Jr. to the development, civic enrichment, and sense of community of the city. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of Springfield, Tennessee hereby recognizes Robert Billy Williams Jr. for his many years of service and his lasting contributions to the betterment of the city. Adopted this 18th day of January, 2022.
Any discussion?
I would just like to say that speak well of him,
Yes.
since he was like a neighbor, and he was a great, he was instrumental in getting me that behavioral management program that I had through the Housing Authority and several other things. And we're gonna miss him greatly, you know.
Absolutely.
Mouse was his name, but I called him Junior. So he's a wonderful person.
Thank you. Any other discussion? No? We've had several things that just about make us all cry tonight.
His family.
Yes. Would you like to vote on this? We want to make this part of our public record, is the
Amen.
reason we're voting on this. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Now I will ask Mr. Williams' family to come forward, and I'll meet you down front, and we'll have a picture of the proclamation. Two point two, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 21-31 on a third and final reading. Ordinance amending the fiscal year 2022's annual budget by amending certain general funds and utility funds operating budgets. Do we have a motion to discuss? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, second by Alderman Green, and I believe we need to amend this.
If you will, there's an amended budget amendment in your packet for an item for the golf course that's a carryover item that was ordered in the previous year and is carried over because obviously, you know, there's supply chain issues, and so we're receiving items that were ordered in the last fiscal year. So if you'll amend the budget to amend this ordinance to include that, that would be appreciated.
Okay? Do we have a motion to amend?
Yes.
Motion made to amend. Motion made by Alderman Hubbard and second by Alderman Gregg. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Any discussion? These are keeping items. No discussion? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 2.3.
We had to vote on it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm just moving right on. I'm seeing if y'all are awake. Back to the main motion as amended. Any discussion? No discussion. We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 2.3, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 21-32 on a third and final reading. Ordinance reapportioning the aldermanic wards for the city of Springfield, Tennessee using the 2020 census block population data. Motion made to discuss by Alderman Hubbard, a second by Alderman Gregg. Questions on this third and final reading? We have to do this by law. No questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 2.4, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 21-33 on a second reading, or ordinance rezoning 1117 Batts Boulevard from Commercial Service District CS to Core Commercial District CC. Motion made by Vice Mayor Harris to discuss, a second by Alderman Green, and I'm going to call on our city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. This also needs to be amended.
we have been trying to reach out, and finally successfully, our planning staff was able to contact the other two parcels that are kind of in the middle of this. And so there's an amended version in your packet. If you will do the same thing and also amend this one, that'll include those two parcels. At the Planning Commission level, I know it was discussed to hopefully include those, and we were finally able to get their consent to do so.
Okay. We have a motion to amend by Alderman Hubbard and a second by Alderman Green. Any discussion?
I hate to give up Bats Boulevard, but I gave it up on the last vote, but I definitely wanted this type of action to be
Okay.
there.
Questions? Discussion? Okay, we're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Now we'll go back and vote on the main motion as amended. I didn't forget this time. Any questions? Discussion? Ready for a vote? As amended. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 2.5, discuss and possible take action on Resolution 21-35 on a third and final reading. A resolution annexing property owned by C. Roger Blackwood located on Blackwood Road, including a portion of the right-of-way on Blackwood Road. Motion to discuss by Alderman Gregg, a second by Alderman Green. Discussions, questions? We're a quiet bunch tonight. No discussion, we're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 2.6, discuss and possible take action on Resolution 22-02, a resolution in support of the transition of the city public safety radio system to the State of Tennessee Advanced Communication Network. Do we have a motion to discuss? Motion by Alderman Hubbard, a second by Vice Mayor Harris. Discussion, questions?
Mr. Martin to give some explanation,
Okay.
so everybody will know what
Our
it is.
city manager, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
I'll explain.
Okay.
The entire district, when I say district, I'm talking about the 911 district. You know, we have a consolidated 911 district here. Our public safety radio system, and by extension, the radio system that the rest of our departments use, is outdated and old and frankly not as reliable as you would hope for out of a public safety radio system. About a year ago, or sometime within the last year, the 911 district commissioned a study and put together a committee to study where we needed to go with our public safety radio system. We participated in that. We had a representative from the police department that was on that. I think both our police and fire departments have been involved in that discussion, as have I. And the conclusion from the committee and the recommendation was to move to the state's TACN system, the Tennessee Advanced Communications Network. It's the system that the Tennessee Highway Patrol uses, state agencies, TBI, and it amounts to the equivalent of a cell network that you use with two-way radios. It's been built out across the state. What they'll do is they will use our tower infrastructure, if we go along with this, and to strengthen their system, but also gives us better reception. What that requires is transitioning, buying the infrastructure for the towers, and buying all new radios. What the county has done, Robertson County has decided to use their ARPA money, a portion of their ARPA money, to help fund the transition to this system. And what they're gonna do is pay for 100% of the infrastructure, which is a pretty steep cost. I don't remember exactly what the price tag on that was, but it was a pretty steep cost, as well as a tiered subsidy to all of the agencies in the county. We are eligible under their program for a 50% subsidy, so they would pay 50% of the radio costs for our police and fire radios. For those for county agencies, they're paying 100%, and for those that provide service to the county, they're paying 75%. What they are asking us to do is pass a resolution, each governing body to pass a resolution that shows their commitment to following through with our end of the transition for the new radio system before they commit all of their money. So that's the resolution that's before you tonight. The timeline on this, obviously, we don't have this money budgeted. It would be roughly between $250,000 and $300,000. So that money would go in next year's budget. The fire department is pursuing a grant to help offset some of the costs of the radios. So we would be hopeful for that, to offset even more of that. But 50% is what the county is going to subsidize at the very least. And so this resolution just signifies to the county that we are committed to the transition. And once everybody's in, the district will move.
Okay. Questions?
This something that the other departments within the city will eventually go to also?
They'll have
I'm
to.
sure at 100% expense to us at that, but.
Exactly. So the utilities that utilize the radio system, right now what we're doing is some internal soul searching to figure out if radios are still needed for our other departments and to what extent they're needed. If they're needed just for an emergency purpose or if they're needed on a day-to-day basis, because different departments use radios differently. So we're doing some just examination of our practice to see if that's what's needed. And when this happens, we'll really have to make a commitment one way or the other.
Other questions? It's something that has to be done. From my understanding, it's getting pretty bad with the systems that we have. I'm looking at our police and our fire, and I understand that it's really gotten to the point of we've got to do something. Questions? Mr. Harris? Mr. Hubbard?
Chief said go for it, so I'm gonna follow his lead.
Okay. No other discussion? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 2.7, discuss and possible take action on Resolution 2203, a resolution accepting an irrevocable letter of credit from Bernstein Construction LLC in order to guarantee the completion of streets, drainage, and electrical improvements in Oakland Farm Subdivision Phase 3, Section 8. Motion made by Alderman Hubbard to discuss and a second by Alderman Green. Questions?
I support it.
Routine. No questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 2.8, discuss and possible take action on Resolution 2204, a resolution accepting an irrevocable letter of credit from Clay Jones Construction LLC to guarantee the completion of streets, drainage, and electrical improvements in Bellhaven subdivision. Motion made by Alderman Green to discuss and second by Alderman Gregg. Any questions? Comments? No comments? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
We're on to our administrative agenda. 3.1, discuss and possible take actions on the adjustment of the retail electric rates for the Springfield Electric Department due to the wholesale fuel cost adjustments by the Tennessee Valley Authority. Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, a second by Vice Mayor Harris. Mr. Sachs?
I'm pleased to announce that this month the rate will be lower 5.6%. So we're headed in that lower swing during the shoulder months. Look forward to come back up in the summer months.
Don't say that.
Sunshine.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Any questions about the lowering of the rates?
No, it's been pulled.
No questions? We're ready for a vote. We better vote fast on this one. TBA? I said we better vote fast on this. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
3.2, discuss and possible take action on the adjustment of the monthly gas rates of the Springfield Gas Department. Motion made by Vice Mayor Harris to discuss and a second by Alderman Green. Mr. Riddle, did you hear him? Are you going the right direction?
Yes, we are.
Okay,
Purchase gas adjustment's down 3.84% this
good. Okay,
month. They say what's gonna happen next month, all this.
stop. That's enough. We need it to warm up, and they need the golf course to open and be able to play. Any discussion? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay? I need you both to come back next month in the same direction. Okay? 3.3, we are going to skip this item, correct?
That's correct.
3.4, discuss and possible take action to approve an offer to purchase property in the North Industrial Park. Motion made by Alderman Green and a second by Vice Mayor Harris to discuss this. Alderman Gregg. What did I say? Green. Okay. Alderman Gregg made the motion and the second was Vice Mayor Harris. She does a great job keeping me straight. Would you like to speak on this?
Sure. So this is another offer, just approved one a couple of months ago from another entity, and this is another offer as things continue to move forward in Springfield. We are selling North Industrial Park land, which is something that we've been trying to do for quite some time. Prime Trucking approached us a month or two ago about acquiring land. You'll recognize the faces behind Prime Trucking. It's Chamber Director and President Jordan Osborne and her husband, a former beloved city employee, Derek, who found that the private sector was much more lucrative than working for us. And so the business has been successful enough for them to expand and purchase land, and we're excited about that, and we get to get in on that. So you have an offer before you tonight of 6.44 acres. There's a survey and a plat, as well as the sales agreement in your packet at $17,000 an acre, which is a going rate for our industrial land in the North Industrial Park, so for a total of $109,480. So that's before you tonight.
Okay. Questions?
I support it.
I support it too. More business. We like it.
And she's a pretty good person.
We know her a little bit. Any other discussion? Are we about out of land up there?
Close.
How much do we have left after this?
We'll have about 12 to 14 acres left, I think. It's about it.
Okay. We might all talk about that on Thursday night. Okay? No more discussion? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 3.5, discuss and possible take action to approve the appointments and the reappointments to various boards and commissions. Motion made by Alderman Trotter, a second by Alderman Green. Any questions on these? No questions, no discussion? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 3.6, discuss and possible take action to approve change order number 2 to the Scott and Ritter, Inc. contract for Phase 2C, constructing the Overflow Basin Project. The change order adds an additional 237 days to the contract for the adjustment of the final completion date of April 10th, 2022. Motion made by Alderman Green and a second by Alderman Hubbard. Any questions on this?
A comment.
Yes, sir.
I want to thank Scott and Ritter for the parking lot of the old association building. They did a fine job of grabbing it and reseeding it. So I thank you for getting on it.
Yes, sir. Our city manager.
Just to kind of update you, this is, and we're going to talk about this a little bit on Thursday night, but you see that the final completion date is April the 10th, 2022. And I know there's a lot of acronyms and code words and things, but what this really means is we're done with the EPA on April 10th, 2022.
We're having a party.
This is the last phase of that project. They're finishing up, should have already been finished, but as you see in your packet, we had a really long delay. Kudos to Ms. Barty for working diligently on acquiring our final temporary construction easement and moving this project along, because we were about to be back in a bind with the EPA if we didn't get that done. And so
No, I wasn't doing that phone call.
so we appreciate getting that wrapped up, but that's what that means. I mean, that doesn't say that anywhere in here, but this is our last phase of that project. So that gets we should be released and removed from the administrative order on consent once that's finished.
Cake and ice cream that day, April 10th. Thank you, Ms. Barty, for all your hard work on that one. Any questions? I hope we never
Get
talk
on.
about this after April 10th. Any discussion? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 3.7, discuss and possible take action to approve amendment number 1, an amount not to exceed $10,500 to Griggs and Malone, Inc., contract for additional geotechnical services for the water plant, high-service pumping system, and upgrade project. Motion to discuss by Alderman Hubbard, a second by Alderman Gregg. Any questions? No questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 3.8, discuss and possible take action to approve the participation agreement for the TVA Home Uplift Program. Motion made by Alderman Green and a second by Alderman Hubbard to discuss this. Any questions on this participation agreement? We've had these in the past. And how do people sign up for these? Y'all are both pointing at each other. We'll talk about that later. I'll ask that question later.
Call the electric department.
Call the electric department. I'll be-
Someone out there will know something.
You call the electric department and we send you to United Way.
Okay.
It administers to United Way.
Okay.
So if you pass their requirements for income and.
I'll call you tomorrow.
They will help get you experience.
I had a phone call about this already.
So this money matches TVA money, and we got about $100,000 that comes back into our area. So I encourage everybody to do this, as we've done for many years in the past.
Okay. Thank you for that explanation. Any other questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 3.9, discuss and possible take action on the amendment to the personnel policy related to the observation of holidays. Observation. Or observe. Where did I go tonight? The observed holidays. Motion made by Alderman Trotter and a second by Alderman Green. This is something that we've talked about before, and do you want to talk about it, Mr. Martin, before we get started discussing it?
Sure. Alderman Hubbard had reached out and asked that this be placed on the agenda this month, and the proposal is to add Juneteenth to our list of observed holidays. Just to give the board an idea, we ran the numbers to see, because obviously Juneteenth, where that would be observed this year, falls in this fiscal year. And so we budgeted for 11 holidays and not 12. So we looked to run the cost to see if that could be absorbed in this fiscal year's budget. It's a little less than $10,000 across the department, so we could absorb that if the board so chose to go ahead and observe Juneteenth in this current fiscal year. If you chose to wait, we would just budget for 12 holidays in the next fiscal year budget. But, or if you chose not to observe it at all, that's certainly at the board's pleasure. But I just wanted to update you on the cost factor there.
Thank you. I think we should pass this tonight. I know we are doing it with where I'm employed. Yes, sir.
Yes, may I just give a little,
Sure.
I'm a native Texan, and Juneteenth meant a lot to me during my growing up period. Juneteenth meant a lot for me when the pressure was put on the Texas legislature to make it a state holiday. I was glad to see when it became a federal holiday, because it ended the Emancipation Proclamation for the whole country. So that's a celebratory thing that really said that equity and fair practice was going to be restored to everyone. So that's a personal thing to me, because, and then my grandmother was born on Juneteenth. So I wish that, all other cities, and I've called a lot of cities around the country, talked a lot of all of them. Almost 95% of the elected officials that I talk to around the country, they're choosing that, okay, as an observation day, okay? Parts of Tennessee, I think the county has voted on it.
I think,
Well, if they hadn't, but I know
yeah,
some cities have.
a lot of cities have in our area.
I feel that we should get on board, and since I consider this city as one of the model cities that shows that diversity work. And so, since we are setting the record, setting the pace in that department, I feel that we should observe this holiday.
Okay. Any other discussion about the holiday? No other discussion? Comments? Okay, we're ready for a vote. Are we voting for this year?
Question. I know it's gonna pass, and we're gonna do it this year, or we're gonna put it on next year's budget.
That is up to us.
Do it this year. That would be my recommendation, do it this year.
Second.
Okay? Motion to do it this year?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And a second. Okay. Any discussion? No discussion? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change the vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you very much for keeping that most diversified city in the country going.
We're ready for our consent doc.
Mayor, without objection, take it as one.
Yes, sir.
Second.
Motion's been made to take it as one and a second. Any questions? Any questions about our consent doc? No questions? We're ready for a vote. Alderman Green.
I apologize.
You're fine. Anyone like to change their vote?
Getting ready to take notes.
Please record the vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Before I turn it over to our city manager, Mr. Ryan Martin, I want to thank Public Works for cleaning the streets.
They did a good job.
Excellent job. I've had lots of compliments, and I have not stopped long enough to call, not for this snowstorm that we just, snow dusting we just had, but the previous one where y'all worked so hard around the clock to take care of our streets and allow us to be able to come to work. There's some of us that we just can't shut down in the hospital, and a lot of other folks can't stop working, so we appreciate what you've done. Mr. Martin, Mr. Terry Martin, thank you so much for coming up with the idea of raising money at Winter Wonderland for Dresden and the tornado victims. You and Mr. Ryan Martin went down and delivered that money. Terry Martin had a goal of $8,000. And he, along with a lot of the other city employees, collected money at Winter Wonderland, and they raised, I'll have to put my glasses on, $18,064 that they took to Dresden. I'm so proud of y'all. Kudos for the great job that you, coming up with that idea was wonderful, and being able to help fellow neighbors. Yes, sir.
I don't think Terry Martin has a thing to do with this, but I think he needs to recognize the people that tore the building down at the corner of Central and Robert Gordon Boulevard. It used to be old Goddard and Goddard when I was a kid. Man, they did a great job of cleaning
Yes.
that place up.
It looks so much
really
better.
looks good, it does.
I worked in that building, it was Precision Products when I worked there, so it's nice to see that building gone and that property
Yeah,
hopefully
so I
will be
think-
back up for sale.
Should be recognized, they did a great job of cleaning it up.
They really did.
Kudos to them.
I'm going to turn this over to our city manager, Mr. Ryan Martin.
Thank you, Mayor. We might as well give Terry Martin credit for taking the building down, too. He gets credit for everything else. Good job, Terry.
Did they do that in that department?
He gets credit for everything else, so.
There you go.
But we got one over here that gets credit for,
Well, he gets stuff thrown at him, I think, most of the
Yeah.
time. But, okay, yes, Mayor, on a serious note, thank you for recognizing what, Dresden is an area that did not get a lot of media attention because they didn't have any loss of life. But Mr. Martin and I went down there, and that place has faced significant damage. And so those folks were very, very appreciative. We got to meet some people, and down there and talked to them, and it was an eye-opening experience. But most of all, they wanted us to pass the message along how appreciative they were for our community and our citizens that cared enough about their neighbor to donate their money for us to take down there to them. So that was a big deal. We were grateful to have the opportunity just to be the messengers in that. And again, thank you, Terry. Winter Wonderland. Speaking of Winter Wonderland, just a recap of that. Because we had a traffic counter this year. We clocked over 10,000 vehicles that came through Winter Wonderland. So using the average person per vehicle, which that would mean we had over 25,000 visitors to Winter Wonderland. That's a big deal. That's another big deal. Also, I misspoke last month. I told you that the Johnston annexation would be before you this month. I misspoke. That it was scheduled to be on the Planning Commission for February. So you'll have it this upcoming month. In February, the next month. Also, strategic planning this Thursday, 5 p.m. will be at the airport in the drawing room, which is the big room. It is open to the meeting is open to the public for any that would like to attend. We will have food, so I think we've got everybody's food orders. So we'll do that this Thursday. We'll talk about that property, Mayor, the property there at Precision Products, along with some other topics that we need to discuss. So we look forward to seeing everybody Thursday evening.
Meeting's adjourned. You weren't done talking?